Hola, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Reliable HVACR podcast here on YouTube. And if you're listening, it's available on all podcast platforms. And go check it out. Go subscribe to the channel. Go check out the podcast. Leave a review, 5-star review, hopefully. And I hope you guys are enjoying the episodes. So I appreciate everybody that tunes in, watches these as they go up live, and I really appreciate you guys for watching the episodes, listening to them on the podcast, all that stuff. I just want to say thank you guys for showing up. So I hope you all are having a great start to your week. Right, we're Tuesday as of this going up, and seasons are changing. I hope you guys are staying busy, doing great work out there, staying safe, all that good stuff. And hope you all had a great Halloween. If you have kids, your family members, whatever you guys do during the holidays, I hope you all had a good Halloween. So on today's episode, we have another great young guy out there doing some HVAC work. And like a lot of the guests, they fall into this trade and they end up loving it. So he's out there now doing a lot of commercial refrigeration and commercial kitchen stuff. So I think that's really cool, really interesting. He's originally from Haiti, so he has a story to tell, and we're gonna let him do that. So here is Rwoodens, a 23-year-old who has his head on straight, striving to be great and improving all the time. You can find him over on Instagram. I'll leave all his information in the description on the YouTube and the podcast. On Instagram, you can find him as DJ underscore Woody2. So, go follow him, check him out, and hope you guys enjoy the episode. All right, Woodens, what's up, man? How are you doing?
Good, good. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. We're staying busy. You're in Florida, aren't you?
Yes, sir. I'm in
How's how's the weather over there right now?
right now it's pretty chill. It's a chilly over there, but the weather is pretty good. I like it.
So is it you mean like it's cold, or is it because like we had a cold front and
hmm
I was enjoying it, and then now it's like 90s again.
Oh, right now, like this morning, it was 60. I think 61 degrees. So it was pretty chilly.
Oh,
So,
nice.
but right now it's probably in the mid 70s to 80s outside. I'll say.
Yeah, I think you all have like similar weather because we're so close to the coast and everything.
hmm
Because I'm in South Texas,
Oh,
so
nice.
I have to deal with the well, we deal with the hurricane weather, all that kind of stuff. Are you by the coast or further up in Florida?
Yeah, I'm in Central Florida.
Oh,
I'm,
okay.
I'm in Ocala.
So you don't do you deal with any hurricane season?
I just moved over there to. I just moved from Palm Beach to Central Florida
Oh,
like 6 months ago, but
okay.
when I was in Palm Beach, they had like mild hurricanes, but nothing too crucial. So
Yeah, it's the same here. We get the warnings all the time, but it's never been too bad. And then
hmm
it's just the weather. The weather gets kind of crazy, during that time, and then uh, just dealing with like hot, humid weather. I think y'all deal with the same kind of stuff over there.
yeah, it's like most days it be hot, but it's just like Texas, but Texas is like mostly with dry heat. Like it's
Up north, where I'm at, because I'm by the coast, by the border down here, and it gets very humid.
mhm.
We can have like 70% and up humidity. So
Wow.
I think it's similar to Florida in a
hmm
lot of those areas.
Okay, okay, nice.
So do you guys have like a since you do HVAC, do you have a slow season right now, or does it stay pretty busy? Do you stay pretty busy during this time where it gets into like fall and winter?
Yeah, right. The company I work for, most of the service calls I'll be doing is like hot side.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but they rarely have any HVAC calls. But when I get some HVAC calls, like sometimes I'll do them. But right now we kind of a little bit slow, but I still try to get my hours in. But
Mm-hmm.
um, most days, I'll be doing like, these service call and they keep me busy. It's not,
That's
I'm
good.
not going to say it's really slow. It's not like, I'm not going to say like HVAC slow, but it's a tiny bit slow, but still busy enough.
Yeah, like with us, because we do so much stuff too. We have the hot side, which is the cooking equipment. My dad, my
Hmm.
uncle does that side. That side just stays busy
Hmm.
year round, right? Because
Yeah.
restaurants, they need their stuff working. And then me and my brother do the HVAC and the refrigeration stuff.
Oh.
So right now, like it's AC season in Texas almost all year round,
Hmm.
except when we get these cold fronts or like late December, January when it's like cool and like rainy outside. Then we don't have that many AC calls, but
Hmm.
we do all the coolers, freezers, ice machines, all that stuff. Uh, that's what's keeping us busy right now. Is like I've been working on nothing but walk-ins and reaching freezers and stuff. So
Hmm.
there's always work out there. It's just
Oh yeah.
I think you got to be very like open to doing different things,
Oh, definitely, definitely.
like doing the HVAC and the refrigeration or doing
Hmm.
food service. So do you do a little bit of both? Like what kind of work do you mostly do?
I do both. I do hot and cold. I'm a hot and cold service technician. Um,
Awesome.
but mostly I'll be doing a lot of hot. Like I would say on my average day, I would say 80% hot and the rest is like cold. Um, but before I joined that company, I used to work for a resort and I used to do a lot of cold, only cold.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I like hot side, it keep you busy, man. A lot of these kitchen equipment, um, every day is something different
Yeah.
and you can't know it all because like cold side you have like a limit, but hot side there's so many equipments, different aspect on them.
Yeah, so before you were more into the refrigeration
Mhm.
type of stuff, did you have experience with the hot side too when you started, or is that something new?
Yeah, that's something new. I had to once I joined this company, um, I had to learn it from some of the technician. I went on training with them, like service
Okay.
calls. But then I was on training for like a month, I'll say, for hot side. Then they put me by myself, and I've been doing it ever since, man. I really like it, man. I really like it.
So you like both sides, being able to do both
Oh
and
yeah.
you don't hate.
Hmm.
I didn't like doing the hot side stuff
Yeah.
because my dad does that, and that's what I started as like a helper and like kind of
Mhm.
going and changing out little parts. So
Mhm.
I'm familiar with the pilots, the burners, the
Mhm.
thermal piles, high limits, a lot of the little things that give out, and I used to fix some of that stuff, but I don't know, it's just never really interested me too much until I saw refrigeration. So that's kind of what I liked to do, and that's what I
Mhm.
love doing right now is a lot of the coolers and freezers. I love doing like ice machines and all that stuff. And sometimes I'll see something new
Mhm.
because you get all these restaurants that pop up. I was doing one that was it was rolling ice cream. So I don't know if you've seen those. I think they're kind of popular now or more common, but
Mhm.
it's just a sheet of it's like a tabletop that's like frosted up and they pour like milk and all the cream and everything,
Oh yeah, I've seen
and
those.
then they scrape it and mix it and
Mhm.
you'll mix in stuff, and I had never seen that before, and they called me out to fix those, and I was like, what is this? So like you're always going to see like different things as you get into the or further in the field, further down in your career, and then just like different manufacturers, different brands kind of do things differently too.
Mhm.
So like I was really comfortable with Follett ice machines, and then I had to learn like Hoshizaki ice machines,
Mhm.
and now I see a lot of Manitowoc and Scotsman, and they all work the same, but they have different ways of dropping the ice.
Yeah, yeah.
Just read the manuals and get your training in.
That's it. That's it.
So it didn't take you long to pick up the hot side. Like, are you pretty comfortable with it?
Yeah, I'm pretty. I would say I'm more comfortable with cold side because this where I came from. You know,
Yeah.
I love cold side. Like hot side, I like it, but cold side, I love it. Um, but I'm pretty. It depends on the equipment. Every equipment, I work on so many equipments, but
Yeah, there's a lot.
so yeah, most of the equipments I'll be working on, I'm pretty. I'll say I feel okay. I feel I'm not gonna say it's comfortable like cold side, but I feel okay. Um,
And you work on fryers, and have you
oh
seen
yeah,
steamers and ovens and all that?
yeah. I work on fryers, convection ovens, grills, steam
They can get
kettle.
pretty complicated too. And now they have all the computers that do everything.
Oh yeah,
The little computers on the front of the fryers and stuff.
yeah, man. It gets complicated. I'll be you know, you probably seen those rational units. There's rational ovens, combi ovens. I'll be
Yeah.
working on them too. But they get complicated when you see when you start seeing a bunch of weird error codes popped up on the screen, and you got to
Oh
figure
yeah.
out what's really going on. Um,
You gotta figure out what's wrong with it, or if even if the computer is acting up. We've had a lot of computers act up too.
yeah, definitely. I have like this. I was at this service call. I think it was 2 days ago for this combi oven rational unit. It was giving me a it said the temperature for the IO board is -40 Fahrenheit, and it go back to 340 Fahrenheit, then back to 80 Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
So I was like, what's going on? The other control boards are perfectly fine. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to replace that control board, the IO board, because it's improper.
Yeah, we see those too, like where and not a lot of techs. I mean, around here, I'm pretty sure like everywhere they're not properly trained on that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that stuff is coming out like crazy, like the boards or the control boards or the computers that you see on that hot food side.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Here we didn't see a lot of the boards in the walk-in coolers and freezers yet, and then now like for the past 2 years, that's
Hmm.
what I've been seeing. A lot of the Russell branded stuff, a lot of the Heatcraft, they all go to boards, right? And the only thing that kind of sucks is when those boards start acting up, and it's like, oh, I gotta order the board, right? I gotta order
Mm-hmm.
something if it's under warranty, especially you gotta wait for the part, and it really sucks because right now I have a couple of
Mm-hmm.
freezers that are out, and the little relays on the boards are giving out, and it's not sending the right signal, and it's like, well, there's nothing to really bypass. You got to wait for the board to come back to come in.
So that walking will be down for the time being.
Yeah, like I have one that I rigged up because the fan, I guess the fan relay on it wasn't working, so my fans never came on.
Mm.
I ran it several times. I tried to get it to reset and it wouldn't. So I had to put in a basically like a fan delay switch, a mechanical one, like an old school one on the
Mm-hmm.
side, and I wired the fans up to that in the meantime, so I get power to the fans, and then have them delay and all that. But now the same one, the relay gave out for like the defrost, the heaters and stuff. So I'm like, well, now you can't be without getting a new board, right? They were kind of waiting on it,
Mm-hmm.
or waiting or holding off, because a lot of these, I don't know if you've ever worked for any restaurant chains. I don't know, like the company you're at right now. Do you guys do
Mm-hmm.
restaurants, or what kind of work do you guys do?
Oh, I work on I work at all the restaurants you can probably think
Okay.
of, and hospitals and everything.
Okay, so you're
Yeah,
like us. Yeah, we do the hospital work too.
yeah.
And a lot of these restaurants have budgets, even the hospital. They'll have
Mm-hmm.
budgets. They'll have they don't want to go over that budget on the monthly basis. Sometimes some restaurants have like bonuses that they give their managers, right? If they don't go over a certain amount, all that stuff. I hate it, but it happens. And so that board is like, I don't know, it's like an $800 board for us, right? And then we got to mark it up, sell it back, and all that. So they didn't want to get it right away. So that's why I bypassed the fan, basically wired up the fans to work,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a freezer and the defrost heater relay is not working anymore. So, and they were like, "Can we just water it down and this and that?" And I'm like, it's freezing in there. It's like 0 degrees, right? You
Hmm.
put water to that, even if it's hot, it's gonna start icing up. So
Yeah.
now they're gonna have a board that we got to order. So we'll get to that.
It's crazy, man.
So let me see. How long have you been in the trades?
I've been in the trades for 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
And did you go to school for it, or did you learn on the job?
I went to school for HVAC. Um, it was a 1 year program, but I finished in 10th month. So once I before I finished the trade, I got my first job. At, I got my first AC and refrigeration job.
Oh,
So
before school?
no, no, before I graduated.
Oh, before you graduated. So were you going to school and working at the same time?
No, no. So before I graduated trade school, like it was like was it 2 or 3 months
Oh,
prior
okay.
to graduation, I got a AC and refrigeration job.
So you already had one lined up. Did you
Uh huh.
get that through the school? Like, did the school help you out, or were you just out there applying everywhere?
Man, I was applying everywhere, man. I applied. I called like basically. I made some phone calls to like 10 different companies. Some of
Okay.
them said, "Oh, you got to come in and apply manually," and I said, "Okay." Um, but the job I got, the first job I got, I had to one of my friends. He told me about that place they hiring. Um, so they had a hiring event. So I went and I had a job interview with the chief engineer. So and he liked the way I was talking and how I act, and he gave me the job.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, sir.
Uh, yeah, like I went to school too, so I
Hmm.
mean, it's not necessary, but I think it's a good way to get
Oh
your
yeah.
basics, learn how to use like the tools that we use out in the field,
Hmm.
brazing, right? You're gonna learn brazing and
Hmm.
all that there. So, uh, how was your school? Like, did you get a lot of experience, like hands on and stuff too?
Oh yes, sir. I got a bunch of experience on hands-on. Like that whole classroom had a bunch of different AC units. They had like regular air conditioning, heat pumps. They had some walk-in cooler boxes. Um, a lot of different. They had like compressors in different rooms. So they
Yeah,
had a lot of different. They had mini split. So you see a whole bunch of different kind of units, and it just expand your mind when you look at them. So the
yeah.
perfect
That
my
was
oh
that
my
was
bad.
one of my favorite things, is because we had like the walk-in coolers and freezers
Yeah.
outside,
Hmm.
and you had access to everything, like the condensers in the box. They had us checking everything, temperatures, your superheat subcool, like how to hook up your gauges here and there. And then we go inside and they have a bunch of training boards for like AC equipment and reach-in coolers and freezers, like the small stuff.
Hmm.
We didn't have any mini splits, but they had us working on like window units, stuff like
Oh.
that. So that was really awesome to me. That's what interested me a lot, was being able to actually work on this stuff, right? Because
Hmm.
I think a lot of us in this field are, I don't know, like ADD or something like that. Because like I can't sit still. I can't be in the classroom
Hmm.
all the time. So like we read about it and then got to go out there, and I thought that was like the best thing, was being able to do all the stuff that you learned, right? Go weigh in the charge,
Hmm.
go troubleshoot this, go they would rip the wires out and we had to rewire some of the stuff. So
Hmm.
it's a really good to, like I said, get your basics. It's not necessary. You're not going to learn everything, because I'm sure there's a lot
Hmm.
that you have to learn out in the field,
Oh
and it's very different.
yeah. Hmm. Yeah, I agree with you 100%, man.
Uh, and then how did you find out, or like what made you get into or look for a school for HVAC?
Um, One thing is I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. So one day my parents said, "Hey, um, low key, one reason I kind of joined the HVAC trade is because I was working for a AC company as a new construction um, ductwork installer, and that job was really tough, man. I did it for a month. It was terrible, man. So I stopped doing that for 1 month, like when I did that, and I didn't know what I want to do with my life. So my parents said, "We're gonna kick you out of the house if you don't go to school." So
Yeah,
I kind of looked into the military, but I didn't do well on the ASVAB. So I said, okay, I'm stuck now. So, but I said, let me go back to the let me go to Palm Beach State. I wanted to go to a different school, but the school was like $20,000 for the tuition.
yeah,
So that was outrageous. So I went to Palm Beach State College for HVAC. Man, it's one of the best school in the nation for HVAC. Not in the nation, but in Florida.
yeah. I
Uh,
gotcha.
but yeah, man, I think it was because I don't want to be behind the desk like these other folks for their career path. I just want to do something with my hands. And I started watching some AC videos, and I kind of like the way people working and working with their hands, and you can make your own money eventually. So there's many routes for this trade. So
Oh yeah.
I choose this. I choose the path. So that
So
was the.
those AC videos, are you talking about like YouTube or
Oh
something
yeah,
like that?
yeah. YouTube. Um, I think I started watching a little bit of videos when I was in HVAC school, like HVAC. I watched you when I was in school, trying to get some experience. Um, yeah, man. I would say the
Yeah, and
main.
those are really good to see. Like you said, HVACR videos like Chris Stevens.
Yeah.
Tito was really good when he did
Oh,
his because it was like a vlog style, right? Like a day in
hmm.
the life on the job,
Yeah.
and those are really good to help you see like those guys that are out in the field, like what it's really like,
Hmm.
because you won't know until you get out there, right? So I mean, you can always look up something on YouTube now. I didn't have that when I started. Uh, there wasn't a lot of there wasn't really YouTube. I don't even think there was Instagram, anything like that when I started. I started like 16 years ago. So
Dang.
it's really cool to see now all the people online, all the people that help. Right, we try to help each other on
Hmm.
whether it's Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. It's all a good community. So
Hmm.
I'm glad that that helped you because you said you started basically, so you had a little bit of experience on the install side before.
No, no. I would say no, no experience. I would say because it was really hard it was really hard to gain experience from the guys I was working with for that install, like new construction install company,
Okay.
because they were bilingual. They were speaking Spanish, and their English was not that really good. So it was like learning from. It was kind of bad, man. So I didn't like that environment. So, but eventually, when I was in HVAC school, I worked for this small mom and pop AC company. Um, and he teach me a lot. Like he teach me a lot about install and service. I did that for 1 month before I graduated, so that was a
Okay.
good experience. And
Well,
that
that's
was
good. You're gonna learn a lot, and it's helpful when
yeah,
you work for somebody that is very well experienced, but like also can help you or at least explain to you the stuff that they're doing out on the job and stuff.
Definitely, definitely.
So, where originally are you from? Because I think I heard you on Pat's podcast talk about being from somebody somewhere.
Oh, I was born in Haiti.
Okay.
So yeah, I was born in Haiti. I
Were you
came here.
raised there?
Yeah, I came here when I was 6 years old.
Okay.
Yeah,
Did was there any reason you guys moved over, or is just you wanted
yeah,
to?
yeah. My dad was staying here for. He was the one that was living here, but me and my mom was in Haiti at that time. So we got our papers and decided to move to America because for a better life. So that was the
Gotcha.
best choice.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you're doing good because I think getting into the trades it's not talked about as much.
Hmm.
You probably don't know about it when you're like you said you didn't know what you wanted to do.
Hmm.
Um, but it's a good trade to be in. Good money to make. Good future.
Hmm.
I'm assuming by what you said you might want to go out on your own at one point.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about that. Um, I want to do that. That's one thing I want to do.
That's like the
Uh,
goal, right?
yeah, that's my goal. That would be really great because I will have all the skill sets for like commercial kitchen equipment side and refrigeration and AC. So I will know everything, so I can expand my business eventually if I had it. So
Yeah, because people ask me about that, and it really depends on you and what you want, like what your
yeah.
goals are.
Hmm.
Because when I went to school, there was my teachers. I had several, right? Each one had a different class. Half of them were working like with the school or for the school, like working on the chillers, maintenance, that kind of stuff, and they also taught.
Hmm.
And the other half actually owned their own business, so I got to see both sides. Like there are people that are just really good at what they do, and they have a good job, good benefits, all that. Like that's fine if you want to work somewhere. I mean, there's nothing against that. And then there's some people that want to go out on their own
Hmm.
and set their own hours, set their own, you know, have it their own way.
Yeah.
There's headaches, there's ups and downs, there's all that kind of stuff. So that's the only thing you have to keep in mind. But like anybody can, if you get into this field
Hmm.
and get into this trade and you make it, what you want, like you learn as much as you can.
Definitely.
You get really good at your craft, really good at all the little things, right?
Hmm.
There's no reason why you can't go out on your own and do your own thing. I always tell people, like, I mean, honestly, a lot of people start out just doing side jobs, right? You do side jobs, you do AC calls here and there, you build that up, and then you can make your own business. Some people just go for it. It's up to the person, but like you said earlier, there's many different avenues, right? Different ways you can go about it. Um, and it's just a great trade.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So, what do you like more, the hot side, the cold side?
I'll say the cold side. But the thing I like about the hot side, you don't be on the roof, you be in the kitchen. But the thing about the hot side, that sometimes you go to these restaurants, man. I don't want to say the name of these restaurants, but
Yeah,
they'll come after me. But some of them are very dirty, man, very dirty.
yeah, like and they always want to offer you like free food and this and that. So like, I some places I just won't, right? Like
Yeah.
I've seen the back, I don't want to. Some places I just get tired of the food, or sometimes you'll take it and it's like, oh, like I don't want that again this week. But
Hmm.
yeah, like like my with my friends and stuff, I'm like, don't ask me how the kitchen is because I'll tell you like every little detail, right? There's
Hmm.
there's they're dirty. Hospitals are really clean, I can tell you
Yeah,
that.
definitely.
There are some restaurants that take really good care of their kitchens, but it's a lot, man. They get dirty. Like I was gonna ask you about like the fryers and the hot side. Like, do you like where you work at the restaurants you go to? Do they maintain them well, or are they full of grease? all that
Oh
gunk
man,
in the back.
it all depends on which restaurant. Like because I work in so many,
So like
some of
some of
them.
them do clean them.
Yeah, some of them clean them. Some of them have a bunch of grease where the thermostat is, and the burners side of the burners have grease buildup. Um,
And then they call you that there's like a fire that blew up or something.
oh,
We get those calls. We get those calls a lot, man. Like they'll call and they're like, "Oh, this caught on fire. Can you come out here?"
so you said your dad do the hot side and your uncle?
Yeah, my dad and my uncle. I did it like for the first year,
Okay.
but like we get those calls, and my dad's like, "Something else caught on fire," and he's like, "I already know it's because they don't clean these things, you know."
That's
You know,
insane.
they get full of like grease and like
Mhm.
just stuff, nasty stuff on the back and stuff, and all that is
Mhm.
like a fire hazard. So,
Yep. Yep.
and then like just not maintaining the equipment too, right? Just there's other things that can cause that, but we get a lot of those, or he gets a lot of those calls, like
Those reactive
something
maintenance.
something blew up, something caught on fire,
Hmm.
and that's when they're like, oh crap, right? They have that blow up like right next to them,
Mhm.
and then they're like, yeah, can you come and clean it, check it out?
It's insane, man. It's insane in this kitchen.
Yeah, don't even get me started on the ice machines. I don't know.
Oh
Do they maintain them where you're at?
yeah. I don't for the ice machine. I don't service ice machine that much in this company, but when I was
Oh,
at
okay.
my previous company, I used to service ice machine a lot. But
Do they
um,
ever clean them?
oh nah, man, a bunch of calcium buildup in the evaporator
Yeah,
and
man. Like
everywhere.
I've been telling them, like you guys need to get on a maintenance, right? Like that's ice. People drink,
Oh yeah.
all their drinks with ice. No, they're nasty. No, not until they get really bad do they call us out there like, "Oh yeah, can you clean it now?" And at that point, it's like a whole day,
Yeah, whole day job, man.
whole day cleaning that thing. Those things get really dirty.
Hmm. You got to take everything apart to clean them.
Oh yeah. So being in the kitchens, so you're on the floor, you're constantly, I'm assuming, being stepped over.
Hmm.
Uh, how long did it take you to get comfortable with that? Because I hated that when I started. Like, even because I do like I said, I started in the hot side
Hmm.
helping, but even like some of the coolers and stuff, they're in the kitchen. They keep them like all the under counter stuff, and you gotta lay there in the floor. I always say cardboard is your best friend when you work in the kitchen,
Hmm.
but you're working under the cooks. Like they get busy, depending on the place. They get busy in the mornings, lunch, like a lot of different times.
Man, man, I be feeling comfortable now. The the time I started getting comfortable is probably I would say maybe a couple months, like 2 or 3 months prior. When I started this hot side field. But right now I'm really comfortable getting like dirty because I go back of the sometimes I go like inches back of the grill and you know removing the gas line and it's all grease all over my pants. My
Yes.
some of my work pants, man, is so dirty. My washing machine can't clean them. So I'll probably have to go to a laundromat to clean.
Yeah,
Um,
man. Because my dad, like, I don't work in there anymore, and the places that we have now, they
mhm.
don't really have like a closed kitchen anymore. It's like kind of wide open, like the fast food
Oh,
places. So it's
mhm,
not that bad. It's not where I'm like up against the fryers and the grills and stuff.
mhm,
But I used to do that kind of work. But my dad goes through pants and boots like crazy just because of all that stuff, right? Laying on the floor in
mhm.
the grease, all that kind of stuff, getting behind the units. It's crazy.
Man, it's really bad, man. Hopefully we don't. Hopefully he don't bring a roach home, man.
Hopefully, he what?
Hopefully he don't bring a roach to his house.
Oh, dude. Oh man, like I had there's this one, it's like out, it's not out in the middle of nowhere, but it's very far away.
Hmm.
And it was for an AC call though. And I was like, why am I not getting a signal, up to the RTU, right?
Hmm.
I go to pop off because I was just gonna check the batteries. I went to pop off the AC, the thermostat,
Yeah.
And I posted a
You
picture like
post,
on my
I think you post
Instagram,
that.
and I was like, oh crap! Like I think thankfully I was wearing gloves. I threw those
Yeah.
away immediately, but like I opened it up and it was just full of like roaches and feces and all that stuff. Like where it was like all brown, like just
Mm.
I was like, dude, I was like, and then I tell the manager, right, because she's walking by, and she's like, she was just like nods, and she's like, I'm not surprised, and she keeps walking. I'm like, are you kidding me? So that
Yes,
they're very aware of it, and they
they
see
don't
it all the
care,
time. They just don't. Yeah,
man. It's crazy, man. I would have fired those staff, man.
I was like, man, and the only thing I can do is write it up in my notes, right? I'm like,
Hmm.
I'm not pest control. I'm not the health department. I'm just gonna write it here, and I'm gonna tell them you got an issue. If you want to take care of it, go for it.
I think some of these health inspect, like those inspectors that's come in, they get probably a paycheck from passing these restaurants, man. I don't know.
And I don't get it. Yeah, some of them are not even worried about it though. Like, yeah, it's whatever, and because they know they're gonna
Hmm.
pass. I mean, they get a grade, they get points taken off, but like if they pass, they pass, they're fine.
Hmm.
But but I've noticed on some of them, like when there is inspections coming up, because they have those like surprise, I guess,
Visit.
inspections from the what do you call it? The company themselves, right?
Yeah.
They have those surprise inspections, and they don't know exactly when, but they know they're coming. So then, like our phone starts ringing like crazy because they want everything, making sure everything's at temp, and that's when they worry, like, oh, this has not been working for a while, but like, can you look at it now? Can you fix it now? It's always during inspections when it gets really crazy.
Well, now you got to schedule it in. It's like,
I tell them, I'm like, dude, this has been down for a while. Like, I got other calls to get to, but
mhm.
we'll squeeze you in. Do you get a lot of those inspections that come through and work picks up?
There's sometimes I dealt with something like that, like some calls like that, like oh, they be I go to the I go to the car.
They're like, I can't get the points, or I need the points, or something like that.
They be saying, oh, I want this to get fixed at this time because on Tuesday the inspector is gonna come in.
Yeah,
Please, I said I'll tell my office, but you know I'm just a technician.
yeah, it's crazy. They'll have walk-ins that have been like at 40, 41, and they're like, oh,
Mhm.
like now I need it fixed.
Do you work on those like those package units, like those package walk-ins, like all that's built into one?
Like the ones that are all indoors, because I
Yeah.
have a couple that it's like a walk-in box. I have it like I'm 5'11", 6 foot,
Hmm.
so like they're tiny to me, and then they have the condenser like right on top of it,
Yeah.
and yeah, the evaporators like kind of like going into
To the box.
the ceiling. Yeah,
Yeah.
uh, those never like we do have them at the fast food chain that we've had for a long time.
Hmm.
Only like three or four of their locations have that.
Hmm.
I guess because they needed an extra walk-in box and they decided to put it inside, but they never work. The places that I see them at, they have a lot of flour in the
Hmm.
air because we deal with a lot of fried chicken and pizza places.
Okay.
I don't know if you've had any of those, but like the flour gets into everything
Oh yeah, to the evaporator and everything.
because even at the pizza places,
Hmm.
they basically work on a prep cooler, right? That's where they build the pizza,
Hmm.
and they have all their condiments and everything, and then of course the condenser's like right there at the bottom. So a lot of these calls that I get is just because of flour from being in the air or them dropping it, like it gets sucked up into the condenser, and I have to deep clean them a lot. And then the ones that have those walk-in boxes, those tiny ones, those I don't know what you call it, like
Self.
self-contained. I don't
Yeah.
know. Uh, they're usually next to where they make the fried chicken
Hmm.
or prep it. So then the condensers get filled up with a whole bunch of flour as well, and I don't know. They never work. They don't even. I don't even think they have us fixing them anymore. They just. I think they're tired of putting money into them.
Those,
Uh, they break down a lot.
when I go to those calls for those kind of units, man, it's always in a very tight
Yeah,
ceiling.
that too. I hate it because
Hey, lucky
it's
I'm
it's
skinny.
it's on a. It's usually they usually have them to where they barely fit in the building, right?
Yeah.
And then to take the cover off, or even to take the top of the evaporator, because the evaporator sticks out a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to take off the lid. I got to take off ceiling tiles and stuff to even get on top of it,
It's
and it
crazy.
just becomes a whole thing. And then the condenser is up against the wall too,
Oh
or at least
yeah.
that's the ones I've seen. Like there's only a few inches, so that thing's not breathing right either. So
Hmm.
just tons of issues.
The more
And
technologies, the more problem, man.
yeah, and then I had the ones that I had the discharge line would go through the drain pan,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
so they would, that's how they got rid of the water.
Mm-hmm.
So for anybody listening, that's where you have your hot gas evaporating the water, which is the drain from the evaporator coil, and more times than not, those things leak just because they start corroding,
Mm-hmm.
they get rusty and all that. So I've had to fix a bunch of those, even on the under counter coolers that they have,
Mm-hmm.
and freezers too. They have that kind of setup too, to where it drains outside, and there's the little spiral discharge line in there, and then like it corrodes, and I got to replace it.
Man, I had a service call for that. For those remote package walk. I forgot the self-contained units, man.
Yeah,
The drain that thing got a discharge line going for the condensate fan. That pan was full with water, and I think they installed the walk-in box perfectly, so water is just getting inside it's seeping to the gap where the silicone is. It's just
yeah,
a mess, man. Because when the water overflow, it just go inside of the box. It's crazy. It's crazy.
yeah. We see we see things like that,
Hmm.
and yeah, man. What, like those little self-contained ones? I don't even think they have them working anymore. I think they gave up on them. And then we have a lot of other ones that, like, I don't know how it works, because there's one, and I guess they build the restaurant, because a lot of them here are old buildings,
Hmm.
and they start out with like maybe one walk-in, because there's always one that looks like it was built when the building was built, and
Hmm.
then the other ones always look like they're attached because they're not even part of the building. They stick out of the building, right?
Yeah.
So there's like the wall, and then they build the walk-in attached to it, and then they just put the condenser on the roof of that little walk-in, but they're outside. But the door is like inside the building, like to get in and all that. So we've had those to where they're not. I don't know if they weren't installed right, or if they just haven't held up, the wear and tear.
Hmm.
But you can feel, like, where it attaches to the building, and you're going to open the door to get into the walk-in. You can feel hot air
Hmm.
coming from the outside. So I was like, oh, you got to reseal. We got to reseal the part that connects it to the building, because the walk-in is every time you open that door, all the hot air is just going in.
Oh
And
man.
we have a freezer that's really bad with that, because it's starting to. That's all hot air going into a freezer is all condensation at
Hmm.
that point.
Hmm.
So then your coil starts icing up. You start seeing like icicles on the ceiling.
Yeah.
A lot of different issues with those, and that freezer. I think it's working right now because I've done so much to try and help them. But I'm like, we need to. They also have the door that is like barely hanging on. Um,
Uh,
they don't want to fix the door either. I'm like, dude, like, I've already done what I could. If you want to call it in, we'll get started on building, because that one needs a new door. I'm
hmm.
sure you've seen at restaurants, the people abuse, these equipment,
Oh, plenty of
the
time.
reach-ins, the walk-ins. I'm like, how the hell do you break these things?
Plenty of time, man. What brand do you mostly work on for like refrigeration, like beverage air? Have you worked on a Frankie unit before?
I don't think so. I've seen a
Man.
lot of like the hospital that I had, or we have, has a lot of Continental I don't know if you've seen those.
Okay.
I haven't seen those
Oh yeah,
anymore.
I worked on them before,
I don't
but
see them anymore, but they had a lot of those, and they had a lot of Charleston
hmm
units. So I'm very familiar with those two.
yeah,
And then at the other places, like we had a place that had nothing but True,
hmm
at all their locations, and Dell Fields. I see a lot of Dell Fields.
yeah,
Right now, all I see is like prep coolers, and those are another. That's a whole
oh
other thing too. Because have you worked on the prep coolers, the ones that have like the condiments on top and then the
yeah. I worked on
doors
the
on the bottom?
yeah, I work on those a lot, man. Um, I work on the Randell prep coolers.
Oh yeah, the Randells. Yes,
Yeah, Randell, man.
I get a lot of calls on those too because and sometimes it's not the equipment. It's like either the way they're using it,
hmm
or you have to take into consideration the also the AC. Because I
mm
have a lot of these that are in hot kitchens, and they
Yep.
put them right next to the ovens and stuff. Like there's a pizza oven like right in front of it,
hmm
and then like if that exhaust and makeup air, because there's a makeup air and exhaust system, right? That kind of keeps that heat from coming out to hit the coolers, and it
hmm
keeps it like contained. I don't know if you guys work with exhaust systems.
Yeah,
Are
I
you
work,
familiar with those?
yeah, I worked on an exhaust system, but we don't have exhaust system service calls. But I worked on exhaust system in my old job.
Yeah, because like the ones that we have right now, since they have like pizza ovens, like we have two different chains that do that.
hmm
The pizza oven will be in the middle of the building, but it'll be like right next to or right in front of the prep coolers.
hmm
So you have an exhaust on the roof with a makeup air unit,
hmm
and that kind of creates like a curtain, right? It's bringing air in, fresh air in,
hmm
and then taking out, whatever comes out of that oven, and it kind of creates that barrier so that the heat doesn't go to the cooler that's right in front of it. So a lot of times like their exhaust systems are not working, right? And if
hmm
the exhaust is not working, all that, I mean, you're going to get smoke and stuff like that in the building, but like all that heat just starts coming out. And then we've had a lot of those prep coolers where they call us and I'm like, it's not your prep cooler, it's working fine, right? There's
hmm
only so much you can do to it. I'm like, but your kitchen feels like really hot. Like I need to check your exhaust or I need to check your AC, because if the AC above the cooler is not working either, that thing it's gonna get like really hot. And
hmm
also like they're not supposed to leave the doors open at the top where they have the condiments.
Yeah.
They got to close those every now and then.
hmm
And they don't understand. So sometimes you got to explain to the customer how their equipment works as well.
Definitely. Man, I went to a service call for this Charleston. I think it was a Charleston freezer. I think no, it was a cooler. Um, they said that they called many other companies. They could not fix the unit, and I told them the unit itself was at temp. It goes to temp, but
Yeah.
the problem is I use a thermal imaging camera. I bought one, and I
Oh,
bought
those are awesome.
those are amazing, man. So I used it, and I'm getting a lot of heat because that unit is close to a pizza oven and close
Yeah.
to a grill, and that thing is getting so much heat. Once they open the door,
Mm-hmm.
the temp goes up to like 40 something degrees because all that heat is just getting inside of the box. And they call the issue they have is the it takes once they open the door, the box can go crazy. That's their main issues. I told them because your unit is close to your pizza oven and the grill. That's why this is happening. There's nothing wrong with the unit. I checked the temp probes. They're
Yeah.
all good. Um, Man, I called Charleston Tech Support because there was a warranty call, and I told them
Mm.
that, and they agreed with me because your location always matter where you put these units. If you put
Yeah.
in
Like,
hot, it's bad.
yeah. Like there was a few, like I said, that I
hmm
feel like they're way too close to the pizza oven. So then I'll take either like a infrared uh thermometer,
Thermal.
or like a thermal imager. I have a few of those now too.
hmm
And I'll show them, I'm like, look, I'm not even pointing it at the oven. I'm just getting all the space in between. I'm like, it is like really hot. That
Mhm.
condenser is gonna pick up all that heat, and it's just not gonna cool. Like if
Mhm.
your condenser's it's supposed to be rejecting heat. If it's
Yeah.
also picking up heat or it can't reject anything,
It's putting stress.
uh, it's stress. There's all that heat has to go somewhere. It goes back into the unit.
Mhm.
That evaporator's not gonna get as cold as it should. A lot of things. So like with us, that's the way I guess they're designed. It's just that we have to make sure that their AC is working
Mhm.
and their makeup air exhaust system is working because we've had a lot of those calls and they're always really stubborn. Like, no, it's not working. It was, it's a cooler, but no, there's other things that go into it. And then, like I said, like them leaving the doors open on top
Mhm.
because they think like the ones I work on, like the Rendell ones,
Yeah.
that top part where they keep like vegetables or
Mhm.
condiments or whatever it is,
The
there's no fan in there.
Mhm.
It's just a frosted wall,
The cold
right?
will.
It's just static cooling, right? It's like an ice chest.
Mhm.
So of course if you leave it open and it's a warm kitchen, all the food basically is going to get warm because there's warm air going on top of it. So I always tell them, like, if you're not using it, please close it. And I've gone so far now as to go grab the manual or look up the manual and be like, here, it says exactly here
Mhm.
in the manual, right? A lot of them will say like what the ambient should be, and it should never be like over 80 or 85.
Mhm.
So you got to check, the kitchen. Is it A lot of times I go in there, it's like 95 degrees in the kitchen.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like, it's not going to work. Yeah, I'm like, it's not going to work. If you want me to check the AC or whatever else it is, I'll do that. But there's nothing, I'm not going to mess with the cooler. It's too hot in here. And then
Mm.
the other thing is, it does say like on those Rendells, how often that they can leave it open. It says in there like, of course, only to leave it open like if you're busy and making your pizzas and stuff, but any other time, close
Mm.
it, keep it shut.
Definitely.
And it, and
Without
it just goes back to, read the manual.
without the any AC in the kitchen, man, none of the kitchen equipment gonna work, man. You need the AC and ventilation. That's it. If you have those two things, your equipment should work pretty good.
Yeah,
Uh,
you have to keep an open mind when you go to like these real tight kitchens, or
mhm.
like where you have a lot of cooking equipment right next to your coolers and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of it is just the ambient, like
Mhm.
your AC, your exhaust, and because that used to throw me off when I started. Right,
Mhm.
I'm like everything looks good, but I can't reach temp, and I never used to think to check like the AC or the ambient
Mhm.
or anything like that. So now I that's the first thing I check. Like,
Yeah.
is it hot in here? Is are the vents throwing air? All that stuff is
But
very important in a tight kitchen, because we used to have like the IHOPs and a Denny's and stuff
mhm.
like that, where like it's a real narrow kitchen and you have nothing but open grills and griddles and fryers right next to the cooler, right next to the
Mhm.
freezer, a prep cooler in the corner that's sandwiched in between, some other cooking equipment. So
It's,
yeah, that's a whole different that's a whole different animal. Like being a kitchen tech, I think you have
yeah,
to be a certain kind of guy, like, to get in there in the kitchen and get to work.
definitely, definitely. Every
I,
day, man.
I've had so many people that see what I do and they're like, I don't want to do that. That's not for me.
Man. So how many hours you work a day?
uh a day, I work, it's different for me. I start in the office, right? I have to do
Mhm.
paperwork, I have to do emails and all this other stuff, catch up on different things, and then I go out into the field because, or I get away with that now because we don't really have any customers that open before 10:30 anymore.
Mhm.
So all the fast food chains that we do, except for the hospital, of course, they open at 10:30. So I've asked them, like, what's the earliest you guys get here when I need to go in early? They don't get there till like 9:30 or something like that. So I don't really have anywhere to go early in the morning.
Mhm.
But that's just us. That's one of the benefits of like us running a business is We can be picky. We can do this and that. How we want to do it. And I just got really used to it. So like lately, I start my day in the office. I go out as soon as I know that they're going to open, or when somebody's there, because I hate waiting.
Yeah, me too.
And I start my day there, and then like now that my son goes to school,
Hmm.
I go and pick him up. So I take a little break between 2 and 3 to go pick him up, take him home, all that, and then I go right back to work if I need to.
Hmm. You see, your life, your your work life balance is good, man.
That's
So.
that's a thing that I tell people, because like of course when you start, you're just trying to get in there, trying to get your hours, trying to get your checks in order and all that. But like later on, especially if you do your own thing, you can kind of balance it. You can make it, you can make your schedule the way you want to. And there's different ways to go about it, because like some people, all they think about is money, which is fine, right? If you want to work 7 days out of the week, all the overtime in the world, and make money that way, that's fine. That's great. I mean, I'm not rich or anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
but I value my family time. That's also worth a lot to me. So
Mm-hmm.
I go pick up my kid from school. Um, if we got something to do on the weekends, I'm not working that weekend, or I'll try to have. I do go on call every other weekend, but you know I try to have the time that I need. If my kid has an event at school, anything like that, I can basically go to anything I need to. And that's just the way we work. So I might not be the richest, or putting in all the overtime hours like other guys, but like I have a pretty good balance of it now, like work and family.
That's the thing. You can make all the money you want, but you can't get your time back, man.
No, and that's what I'm trying to like I said, there are guys that think about the money, right?
Yeah.
And that's fine. If like when I was younger, I was working a lot more, right? I didn't have a family, I didn't have kids
Mm-hmm.
or anything like that when I started. So I didn't mind. I was working late. We were going like on these long out of town calls where I was there for like basically the whole day, getting home
Mm-hmm.
real late and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now I think about it a little bit more, right? I want to be home for dinner. I want to be here on the weekends when the kids want to do something. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a different kind of like a
Mindset.
a different kind of wealthy, right? You
Mm-hmm.
can be wealthy with money, or you can be wealthy with your time and your family.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just what I preach, because I'm the kind of guy, like I love working, but I need my time to myself and with my family too.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, I be though it's I be working like 50, 60, 70 hours a week, man. I be my when
I
I
don't
get
work that I don't work that much.
when I get home, man, my body is like right now, like my body is like a sponge, a hard sponge, man. So sometimes, like on the weekends when I'm off, I like to stay home, But I need to start going out more, like start doing some adventure things because time will fly by, and I don't want to get that. I don't want to miss those fun times I could have. But I just keep my time a little bit valuable to myself. But when I'm with my family, sometimes I go down south to see my parents. But
Yeah, that's awesome. You just when you get into the trades, like
hmm
don't let it take over
hmm
you, right? You need to set your own path, your own hours. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. When you start, like when I started, I wanted to work a whole lot. I wanted to learn as much as I could,
hmm
in the beginning of my career, just so it could pay off later on in my career.
hmm
And I've had those long weeks, those long days when I started, and I learned a lot from those, to where like now I'm a little more efficient, right? I get things done a little bit quicker. I have everything I need on my van.
hmm
I try to keep it stocked all the time, because I'm always like I want to get in and out.
hmm
To me, like I get so upset with some of the guys that we got, because they might need to go to the supply house to get a part. And I'm like, why don't you have that on your van? Like I get so upset. It's just because I don't like to waste time. I feel like my time is worth, a lot, right?
Mhm.
So the way I work now is I try to be more efficient. I try to be in and out.
Mhm.
Um, I don't rush, but like, like I said, I have everything I need. So like if I need a part, I have all the valves that I need, all the motors I need on my van, and I'm not gonna waste time because I used to do that a lot. Like, oh, I got to go to the supply house, got to get this part, got to get that part. Like I didn't know what I needed, and that's I think that's why my day goes by quicker too. Is just like I have everything. I don't need to go to the supply house, or call and see if they have a part or order a part or anything like that. Like I try to be efficient. I try to be in and out, and that also makes my day go by a lot quicker. I can get a lot done before I have to go pick up my kid.
Oh, that's the like me. I try to keep my van. There's days like in a week when in the midweek your van's gonna be a little bit out of range, but I try to keep my van clean, man. Because I met some techs, man. Oh man, I almost had a heart attack when I see their van, man. But I keep my van pretty decent situated, and like I try to be like you, like try to have my parts, like because I need like those common parts because like
Yeah, you'll see what you need the most, and it's
yeah,
always good to get those and like keep them in stock.
because that just gonna make you will fix the equipment the first time, and that will improve your because I work for a company, so that we have like a there's like a stat sheet, and that will increase your first time fix
Oh
rate.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's good for me because I like to have the most part I can have, and the customer will feel like they need you, and they will need
And
you
that
for a long time.
that's what it's all about too. Like I like you need to be efficient for your job, right?
Yeah.
Work your way up, get that raise and everything. But like
Mhm.
people forget about the customer side of it, right?
Mhm.
The customer service, making the
Yeah.
customer happy. The that's a real priority there because
Mhm.
they're the ones that are going to keep calling you or they'll call somebody else, right?
Yeah.
So when you have that part on your van, they are like super happy about it. Like, oh, you're gonna get it, you're gonna
Mhm.
fix it right now, awesome.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'll get it up in an hour and a half hour, whatever it is. Like, let me just run out to my van, get the part that I need, and we'll get you going.
Hmm. Man, yesterday I had this job, man. It was like this drip tray was kind of disconnected and was leaking when the unit is on cleaning mode. So I was like, man, I need a clear hose, but I don't want to go to Home Depot. I look in my van for like 5 minutes, and I found like a piece of rubber boot, a little rubber, like I think it's a size 3/8 or 3/4 like that. And I
Hmm.
find it, and I cut it and I spliced it. No, I cut it and I put it in, and I fixed the issue. I was like, man, no trash, all these trash, like what we call that? There's a saying that they say, I forgot to say, I forgot a
What like
phrase.
the one man's garbage is another man's treasure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's it right there, man.
Yeah, I
So,
don't like to throw things away either because like if I cut up something or whatever, or if we have like leftover pieces or maybe something slightly used, I'll throw it in a bag or a bucket and I'll keep it for later. Like you never know when you need that stuff.
never know. You never know, man.
So yeah, I've had that where like some of that stuff comes in handy and it saves you one day, right? You never know when you need it, but it'll save you one day.
Yep, yep. Especially
And
on a Friday, man.
on a Friday, on a weekend, I always try to think about that kind of stuff. Like, what if I'm there on the weekend? What if I'm there
Mhm,
after hours? Like how can we get this thing going, right? So
mhm,
I always have like extras and spares, and I don't throw away a lot of stuff if I think it'll be helpful later on. And then we
mhm,
do a lot of stuff out of town, so we work 2 hours each way. And if there's not a supply house close by, like it really helps to have that stuff on your van.
hmm. So how long you been? How long you for how long you been running your own company for?
Well,
You
our
said,
company's been around for 16 years because my dad started it.
oh,
So basically, he was a higher up manager at his old job,
Mhm.
and he wanted to do his own thing.
Mhm.
And the thing is, like, when you start your own business, you're working somewhere, or you're doing side jobs or whatever it is that you do, before you decide, you're gonna build relationships, right? So, like, once my dad started his new business, a lot of people heard about it, like customers, and they're like, "Well, I want you. I didn't really care what company it was. I wanted you." So
Mhm.
when he started his own business, he had people calling him up like, "Oh, are you on your own now? We need you, servicing our equipment." So
Mhm.
that's another important part. Like the whole customer thing, like I said earlier,
Building
is
with.
very important. That's a priority, right?
Mhm.
When the customers really like you as a tech, they request you, or they're real nice to you when you go, and you can build that relationship.
Mhm.
That'll help you a lot.
Mhm.
And there's been a bunch of times where we are super nice, super friendly to these cooks or other people that are there. And later on, guess what? They're managers, right?
Yep.
They're
Yep.
supervisors. They're something, they get promoted to something, or they move. And
Mm.
they're like, "Hey, I'm over here now. Can you come, like, look at this equipment?" They remember you from when you were working at wherever they were at.
Mhm.
So the customer part of it, and that took me a while to realize, like, how important it is to build the relationships, at least be nice, courteous, talk to them a bit, and make sure that they're happy, right? Because you never know, you might get a call from them later on, and they'll give you more work.
That's it, man. You never know how it go.
You never know. And then, like, my dad, even when my dad started the business, this was like '07. So
Mhm.
I had just graduated high school. I took a year off. I had taken a year off.
Mhm.
And then I was like, okay, time to go to college. I don't know what I want to do, but I took a year off. I didn't want to take like any more time off. So I was going to go for electrical engineering,
Mm.
only because that was like the closest thing. Cause I was like, I like taking things apart. I like building things. I love electronics. I fixed them. I did all that stuff. So I was like, I guess, right. This is the closest thing I can think of that I can major in and go to college. Uh, so I did that, and then I would help my dad, but with like the behind the scenes stuff, like doing the logos, helping him make business cards, helping him advertise, a lot of things at the house.
Mhm.
And then I didn't know what I wanted to do. Both of my parents kind of like were thinking like maybe you should just get into the trades as well. And they knew how I was. I was not going to be behind a desk. I was not going to sit still. I get bored. I've always been bored like super easy, and I need to be like challenged. And that's one of the things I love about
The
this trade,
trade.
the
Mhm.
HVAC trade, or the food service industry is the same. You're always seeing something different, you're always getting challenged. So they kind of knew that. I went to go help my dad in the field, was still a little bit bored, and then we kind of or he needed a refrigeration guy because he only knows the hot side. So like if he's out there and then like they ask him about a cooler or a freezer or an AC system, then they got to call somebody else, right? And
Mhm.
then that company might do hot side, and there's competition, right?
Yep. Yep.
So my dad's like, hey, if you want to get into the trades, HVAC is a good one, and I need a refrigeration guy and this and that. So
Mhm.
switched my major over to HVAC because the school here was offering it, and I loved it. So it was just something my dad needed to be competitive because a lot of the companies here do hot and cold. So
Mhm.
that's how I got into that.
Oh, nice, man. One of the best decision out here, man.
And that's a good thing, like with you, like if you know how to do both, if you can do a little bit of everything
Mhm.
and just continue to get better at it,
Mhm.
that's super valuable, right? That's going to be a lot of value at whatever company you're at.
Yep.
Or if you ever need to find a job at some point, or if you ever want to start on your own, like you need to build up those skills because like being able to do everything is very helpful. We have a guy that does everything,
Mhm.
and that guy is super valuable to us. We can send him out to anything, a cooler, freezer,
Mhm.
fryer, whatever it may be.
Hmm. It's best to do it all, man.
Yeah, and I saw that you're practicing too, so you're constantly trying to uh get better at what you do. I think you were brazing aluminum or something, or
Yeah,
soldering aluminum.
yeah. I was using solder well products. Um, I was like kind of bored. It was a Sunday afternoon, man. I was trying to watch the Dolphin game because I'm a Dolphin fan,
Yeah.
and I don't have no cable, so I was like, damn, I can't watch it in Paramount or whatever streaming device it is. So I said, like, man, I'm bored. Let me go outside. I go to my truck, and I said, let me practice on my copper to aluminum because these new products they coming out, it's mostly aluminum or copper to aluminum.
That's a lot. Yeah.
So I need to practice on that because if I don't, when I go to a job like that, let's say if I have a leak, I don't want to start practicing on a job because time is money. So I said, okay, let me go to the truck. I grabbed some copper and grabbed some aluminum. I bought this. I went to United
Hmm.
I think almost a year ago, and they had the solder weld, prevent, solder weld little
Like
um,
a kit.
a kit. Yeah, and I got it, and so I grabbed it in my van and I just start practicing, seeing how it flow, and it went well, man. So it was kind of fun.
Yeah, I
So
think I did that. I did that one time with the
mhm,
aluminum to copper,
yeah,
and it's very hard because the ones I've only seen like a handful of leaks on those, but it's
mm,
always it's always a crack. That's what sucks. Like it's a crack, and you got to like fill it in and all
mhm,
that. But I had to learn it on the job on the spot because I had never seen it before, and I
mhm,
was like, okay, let me go buy something for it and try and fix it, and it worked for a while, but they needed a new coil anyway, and I had another one that I kind of want to practice now too because there was one that I had a hard time with, and they weren't gonna pay. So like there was a whole issue with them. I haven't been back over there, but
that was
it
aluminum to copper.
it was, yes, it was a copper, the copper line going into the condenser coil. It was on a Linux AC unit,
Mhm,
but the issue is I think I had a leak on the copper or somewhere in that connection, and then I
mhm,
had a crack on the tubing on the aluminum too. So like on the header, on the inlet of the condenser.
mhm,
So I had to, and I figured out how to do it, but like I said, we didn't end up finishing the repair. I think they ended up buying a new unit from somebody or something like that. But
mm,
I had to fix the crack on the aluminum side,
mhm.
and then I also had to re-solder the copper to aluminum.
Oh
So
man.
the issue I had is like trying to heat it up or do one without messing up the other one because you're heating everything up. So somebody had told me, and I didn't get to, like I said, I didn't get to do it because
Mhm,
they were looking for prices from somebody else. But like that hot block stuff, hot
mhm,
block or wet rag, whatever putty you want to use, you can put it in between, do one repair and then do the other repair, and they won't like mess with each other.
mhm.
Because I had that issue where I was trying to use two different uh, soldering rods, right? Because there's
Yeah.
one for the copper and there's one for the aluminum repairs.
Mhm,
And I was like, how the hell am I going to do this? And then somebody told me that. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So, like,
mhm.
now I kind of want to practice a little more on aluminum too. And then I saw your post
Yeah.
and I was like, man, I need to get on that because like aluminum is everywhere, right? It's in
Oh
the
yeah,
condenser, it's in the condenser coil. I'm starting to see it in the evaporator coil
man.
too.
Mhm.
All these micro channels. We had another one, but it was out of town, and there was another company that gave them all this stuff that they needed new compressors and all this other things. And then like I get out there and it looks because it's a train rooftop unit
Hmm.
and it has a hail guards, right? So the hail guards just snap into place. You kind of push in the levers and take it out.
Mhm.
I don't know if you have the hail guards.
Oh, I
Um,
I seen them on. I seen
okay,
them on
so
some.
like what it looked like to me is somebody took them off, and I guess like one side slipped or something, and then like across the coil, there's a huge scratch.
Ah, man.
So then I was like, okay, let me investigate that. Right,
Hmm.
we pressure tested it, and like two of the lines are leaking on
Hmm.
on that macro channel, and I really wanted to try and fix it, but I never got approval.
Hmm.
But like I've seen people, like, I think you cut it out or you pinch it, and
Yeah.
then you solder over it and you kind of close it off. But it's everywhere, and those things, it's aluminum. You puncture it, it's gonna leak out. So
The, the thing I did when I was doing that practice, when I put the copper to aluminum together, because I had to switch it and stuff like that. So I put
yeah,
them together, and I use a mop gas, and I use the solder well copper to aluminum stick. I heat up the copper because the copper it take more heat to
yeah,
melt. So I heat up the copper, and the heat would transfer to the aluminum. So when I did that, I just put the stick. After a few seconds, I put the stick across the copper to the aluminum joint. Man, that thing swim like butter. Man, that thing float like butter, man. It went down smooth, and you saw it, man. It was pretty good because
yeah,
if you heat up the aluminum, you're gonna melt it right away because that thing will it's fragile. So I heat up the copper and the heat transfer to the aluminum. So
yeah. I've done a couple of the like, but it was just aluminum. I didn't have to worry about the copper where like
mhm.
it cracked, and that's I'm always afraid like of melting it. But I haven't had that happen yet. So I need
Mm.
to practice though.
Yeah, what I want to do. I want to buy some. I'm thinking about buying some units on like Facebook Marketplace that's not working, like some cooler that's not working or freezer, and just on a Saturday or something like that, I'll probably start working on them and find out what's the problem.
Yeah,
So that would be nice. That would be like
yeah,
a fun
man. I mean,
project,
yeah, man. Like practice is good if you can get practice in.
man.
That's really good. Or like for anybody watching or listening, like if you guys have a part that failed or whatever, I like to test the new part and the old part, right? Like if it's a contactor,
Hmm.
you're checking ohms or something, resistance or anything that fails, compare it to the new one, right? How
Hmm.
does the new one look? How does the new one work? And then how did the old one, like, what happened to it? Why did it fail? The more you know, the better. So it's always good I like to keep the old parts sometimes and look at them after work,
Hmm.
see if I can figure out what happened. A lot of these, like the boards, if you look at the back, sometimes you'll see where it burnt out or what happened to it.
Hmm.
And I mean, that's what it's all about, right? Getting better, but you're gonna get better in your spare time too. If you have free time, go on YouTube. There's no excuse. Go on YouTube. Go on Instagram. Even TikTok now has stuff on HVAC. Read some manuals. Go look up some stuff. Just if you know how something works, that's gonna help you a long way. That's where the school helped me. Is like I knew how expansion valves are supposed to work. I knew how these other components are supposed to work. And if I go out into the field and it's not doing what it's supposed to, then I kind of know a little bit of what to look for and that kind of stuff.
Definitely, definitely. Have you been replaying those electronic expansion valve yet?
Have I what?
Have you repaired those? Have you replaced any of those electronic expansion valve? Have they went
Yeah,
dead
but
on
I
you?
can but I can tell you they rarely fail. Have you had any fail on you?
Nah, nah. Just like I really haven't. For TXV, I really haven't. I replaced one TXV because I had to do it.
Hmm.
But TXV, I haven't really changed TXV. I mostly changed those cap tube. Those cap tube are like notorious because when
Yeah.
you have a dirty condenser, the oil will start boiling inside of the unit, and they can plug up the capillary tube and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, we used to have a lot of capillary tube equipment
mhm,
to where I already knew, right? If it has the proper charge and then like you see that icing up, like
Yeah.
going into the evaporator. It's like, okay, we got a restriction.
Mhm.
What I used to do, I try to replace them now, but what I used to do is I used to just go in there and cut off the tip because usually like the tip was just clogged up,
Mhm.
and then I would get away with it. But then like I was like, like a couple times that didn't work, so then I started replacing the whole thing.
Mhm.
But as far as the EEVs, they rarely give out. I know they're electronic and all that. The only time I replaced them was because the manufacturer told me to, because they thought it wasn't working. We went through the steps, and I told them I've already checked everything,
Mhm.
and this is what I found. Now I don't know because everything's controlled by the board. So in a test mode for these IntelliGen from Heatcraft,
Mhm.
that's the only way you can check if it's supposed to do what it's supposed to do, right? And you're only checking for like the voltage, like the DC voltage,
Mhm.
um, and then like the signals it sends out. Because on the EEV, it's just sending the signal and it'll step it up or step it down.
Mhm. Got a transducer.
Yeah. So when I did a test mode, everything tested tested fine. Everything I did, everything I could do. I couldn't test it. I don't remember why, but I couldn't test it when it was plugged in. Like I had to keep it unplugged and check the signal and all that. And then I told my manufacturer, and that's how they wanted me to check it too. And they sent me the EEV. Changed it out. It did the same exact thing. It would not open.
Hmm.
So then I'm like, you know what? Send me the board. We're probably having an issue where like when it calls for cooling, we're not getting a signal or something. Sure enough, it was a board. I've already had like two or three of those where the board just stops sending a signal during cooling. So
Hmm.
either they'll get stuck open or stuck closed. I've never seen an EEV give out yet,
Mhm.
and from what I've been told, they never really give out. Just like with the TXV, like you see on the ACs, like people
Yeah.
always say it's never the TXV, right?
Yeah.
So the only times I change the TXVs out on like older systems is like when it's a really small one where you can't take off the power head, because
Mhm.
sometimes the power head gives out and you got to change out the whole thing. Or like I've had some that break on me to where I'm trying to adjust it on the stem,
Mhm.
and it just like it free flows. It just rotates and rotates. It never stops.
What?
So I've
Dang.
had two of those already that I can't adjust anything, and it's just like my superheat's off or something,
Hmm.
and I need to open it a little bit more or something, and I can't move it because it like the little stem somehow broke inside.
Hmm.
So those are the only ones I've had to replace. I've never had one that just completely failed.
Okay, that's good.
As
Hopefully,
long as as long as you don't clog them up, because that's
Mhm.
the other thing, right?
Yeah.
Like make sure you use the nitrogen when you braise and all
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. Uh, because the only other thing that could happen on those is they get plugged up, either the screen or whatever is inside, whatever kind you have. Because yeah, I mean, people used to get away with that. I think people still try to, but try to do the best practices. Use your nitrogen
Mhm.
and protect those valves, and you'll be fine.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially when it comes to cap tube, you definitely got to flow nitrogen.
Man, those things will plug up real quick.
Ah.
I used to have a lot of those calls. Like I said, I used to do a lot of the trues. A lot of
Oh.
those
Mhm.
were just cap tubes. Or I replaced a lot of those.
Man, yeah, you should the fun unit you should work on is the Frankie units, man.
I don't think I've seen those. I need to look those up.
They in McDonald's, Wendy's. Like I had to work on this convertible Frankie cooler slash freezer, man. I had to replace the evaporator. That thing was deep inside, so I take out the whole, basically that whole back panel, the back of the unit. I
Hmm.
dropped the whole back of the. I had to drop the condenser. I think remove the condenser and the evaporator, and you can stick your head inside the unit, and you can see the daylight. So I had to. That was the only way I can remove the evaporator, and it was pretty. when I did that, that was the best thing I did because if I didn't do that, man, I was gonna cry.
Yeah, man, like what I always tell people is
Mhm.
it's hard to believe, but the smaller the equipment, the harder it is to work on. Like
Mhm.
all the reach-ins that I used to work on, like I still work on, like I said, the prep coolers, but like I used to work on a lot of Charleston, a lot of True, and I just feel like the smaller the equipment, the harder it is to work on because you have less room. And
Mhm.
if you're gonna go replace an evaporator coil or something like that, I've done a few of those, and I still do them every now and then. Because a lot of the places that I work at, in the coolers, like even on the walk-ins, they have a lot of onions, a lot of veggies, a lot of acid type
Oh,
of products,
mhm.
and it'll eat the evaporator. So I've replaced a ton of those, like reaching coils and stuff, and they're always the worst. Like a
Mm,
walk-in cooler, you have all the space in the world, right?
yep, yep.
And a reach in, it's like you're kind of bending your body, twisting in there, or trying to stick your head where you can see, and then brazing, right? Trying to braze in tight spots.
Mhm.
It's hard, but it's a challenge.
That's it, man. It just gets you better though.
Oh yeah. Like you said, like you want to cry sometimes, right? You get really frustrated, but like at the end of the day, you're better about it.
Mhm.
And now I do think I'm a little bit quicker, or I make things easier, right? You learn later or
Mhm.
from that
Mhm.
to take it apart. Sometimes it's easier to take more of it apart and then
Mhm.
do the work that you need to do and then put it all back together, instead of like you said, if you wouldn't have taken out that other coil or that condenser,
Mhm.
how much harder would it have been to do it, without moving that first? You got to think about that.
Yep, yep. The good thing they said, they sent the manufacturer. It was a warranty call. They sent me a manual because I had to call them. I said, I said, how I'm gonna get in there because the only thing that can probably fit inside of that spot, even the oxyacetylene tip can't fit inside there. So because it's so crowded with that evaporator. So I said, they sent me the manual. I look at it. I was like, dang, okay, I gotta remove all those screws and I can remove it apart. And I did that, man. That was good, bro. That was easy.
Yeah, yeah, the manuals, all the breakdowns. It's always good to look at that stuff.
Oh yeah.
I did call a manufacturer one time on those the prep coolers. It wasn't the Randell ones. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it was essentially the same thing. It was a prep cooler, right?
Mhm.
And you remember how we were talking about the top part is just what they call the rail. It's just
Yeah, the cold rail.
yeah, the cold rail.
Mhm.
It's basically like an ice chest, right? You don't see the
Yeah.
evaporator. You don't have fans.
Mhm.
On
Mhm.
one of those, where I've had a couple now, those leak. Those evaporators leak that are in the wall. So at that point, now I just condemn him. I'm like, there's no way to fix it. You can buy a new one, and usually they do. Because I called manufacturer one time on that, and I'm like, I have a leak in the wall. Like, what the hell do I do, right?
Mhm.
And then they started laughing, and they're like, well, if you really want to fix it, you're gonna have to cut out go from the back, cut out the wall, right?
Mhm.
And that's if I even know where the leak is, right? My leak detector goes off, but like you can only stick it in the where the suction line comes out.
Mhm.
That thing runs all across the prep cooler, right? So I don't know where the hell the leak is to begin with. So they're like, yeah, you can cut it out, find the leak, patch it up, and then like basically build the back wall up again, right? Insulate it, put stainless steel back up and all that. I'm like, hell no.
I
So I
was.
was like,
Go
what was
ahead. Go
that?
ahead. Go ahead.
No, I just told the customer, I was like, this is what they told me,
Mhm.
and it's not repairable. So if you guys, and I felt bad for that one, that first one, because all of those, it was like a fancy kind of restaurant, kind of like an Olive Garden, but it was like some called something else.
Mhm.
And they had a lot of these prep coolers, but they were up on a little step, right? So they were a little bit higher on the
Mhm.
floor,
Mhm.
and they were built into the wall, right? They were like
Oh, man.
sealed and everything. And I was like, we're gonna have to rip out your wall and all this other stuff, even to replace it. I was like, it's a
Shit.
so they left it. I think they left it condemned because they could still run the bottom or something like that. We just
Mhm.
turned off the solenoid that fed the top part. And
That's
yeah, I don't think they fixed it.
That's a good thing about those Coldwell those display case, the display units. They have some of them have two controls, one for the
Yeah.
base and one for the Coldwell. But some of them are just built into one. If it goes down, oh man. But yesterday I had this job for this I forgot the name of that company, but it was for Burger King, man. It was a warranty call, and it was the unit that Coldwell. The pressure was an R290. The pressure was like 1 psi and 125 on the high, 130 on the high side. So, and the compressor starting components are good, but the compressor itself was not. It started and it was pulling 12 amps, so I had to put a 3-in-1,
Oh,
uh,
okay.
and it ran the compressor. So I had to do a nitrogen test, and I could not find. I didn't find no leaks. And but I said okay. But the good thing is my pressure was equalized before I turned on the unit. So
Mm-hmm.
so I'm saying it's probably no leaks at all, because usually if your pressure is not equalized, like if you have 50 psi on the low and 30 on the high, then you definitely got a leak. So, but I just checked for a leak. I didn't find no leak. But if I had a leak in the evaporator, man, it would be in the cold where I had to remove the whole thing. Thank God they put the cap tube. The unit have a restriction, so the cap tube comes from the filter dryer all the way to
Mm-hmm.
that suction line. But the suction line doesn't go all the way inside the unit, so I can access that cap tube. I was about to cry, man. I was about to say, "Dang, I gotta." It's a warranty call. You gotta do what they tell you to do.
Yeah.
It was gonna be a shit show, man.
Yeah. Sometimes those little the small equipment is a challenging one.
Oh yeah, man. I
But
had to let.
like the Randels, I don't know if you're seeing the new ones or the old ones, because like the ones I've seen, they run off one compressor, which I didn't like,
Oh,
and we would have issues where like with different things because it's trying to run two evaporators.
mm-hmm.
The new ones that I've seen that they've started buying have like three compressors, and each section has its own compressor.
Damn. How big is the unit?
It's the same. It's just slightly bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they just kind of jam all the compressors in that spot.
And
But
how many? Only one condenser though, right?
I think it's
One.
two or three condensers. I don't know if they're
Oh.
stacked or something because I see one big one and then I see one off to the side. And then
Mm,
like I don't know if those I think those two are separate. They're just like on top of each other. But I
I
was like,
see.
well, that's nice, right? If one gives out, you just have to worry about that
Mm-hmm.
one circuit. Because before, like we're running one compressor for basically three evaporators. Because there's also that middle section where the food falls, right? If they're making the pizzas, all the stuff that falls over, there's another evaporator there too.
Mm-hmm. I seen the two-stage compressed, like two-stage units for those Deerfield Victory.
Oh,
Deerfield is
really?
no, not Deerfield. Beverage Air.
Oh, yeah.
Beverage Air acquired Victory. So, but yeah, man, they have two compressors, and two evaporators on those units.
Yeah, I like when they do that because it makes it easier. Because I like when I saw that, I was like, awesome. Three compressors. I could just have to worry about the one that went out.
That's that's that will help us out, man.
Yeah, I started seeing those and I thought that was great. So,
I
all right,
want to
man.
see that.
Yeah. All right, man. We're at an hour and a half. Is there anything you want to say before we get off? Any advice to other guys or anything like that?
Just like for the new guys in the field, always like what you've been saying on your videos. Like if you removing parts, you got to take pictures before you remove the
Oh, yeah.
part, because sometimes your head might be thinking about, oh shoot, I forgot to call somebody, and you'd be like, oh, nah, you messed up the wiring. Now you gotta read the schematic. But and the schematic might not be there, and it's just a whole different crazy mess.
I cannot tell you how many times I've gotten pissed at one of our guys because they rip wires out
Hmm.
and they're like, "Well, I don't know how to put it back together. Can you do it?" I'm like, "Oh, fuck, now I gotta trace every single wire, and sometimes they're not color coded. I mean,
Hmm.
that's the other thing too.
Hmm. So yeah, just take your just be patient when you're doing a work. I know some companies like they will try to rush you. Hey, you got to finish this at a certain time. Just be patient. If you be patient, you'll solve the problem. So um, always, the number one thing is for new guys that's joining the field. Always ask the customer a question of,
Oh
hey,
yeah,
like if they say the unit is not cooling, tell them how long the unit not been cooling for. Um, like ask for any signs. What were you thinking? What happened, and but just ask them question because that's gonna help you out. So if you don't ask question, it could be a whole different story, and that's gonna waste your time. So always ask questions. That's what I always do when I go to service calls. So
yeah, man. That's a great one. I think you can apply that to any side of
mhm.
HVAC, even with homeowners and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
like being in the kitchens, that's one of the important things is talking to like the people that actually use the equipment, right? The cooks,
Mhm.
anybody in the back. Hey,
Mhm.
like, how long did it just? I always tell them like, did it just give out today, or have you been having issues with it before?
Mhm.
What is it doing exactly, or show me if it's like a something that they're cooking with. Show me what it's doing.
Mhm.
So that's a good one because not a lot of people get that. Sometimes it's like the
Mhm.
customer can tell you a lot about
Oh
what
yeah,
happened to it.
definitely, definitely. They the one that operating the unit. And the last thing is, or don't be afraid to call tech support because so I think I would say,
Even if they don't help you too much, because sometimes they don't help me.
yeah, definitely.
but
Oh,
but that they will help you check certain things, and then like maybe sometimes just talking to somebody helps you.
definitely. Like I mostly like if I'm dealing with a situation on a unit, I will call tech support instead of another tech because I'd rather feel dumb with the tech support because they know the equipment better than the regular techs at your company. So
Yeah.
especially the guys in your company don't have time to they don't always have the time to be on the phone with you because they're trying to solve their own issue with their own unit. So try to call
Or
tech support.
yeah, or just like they can't help. They're not maybe good at talking you through the problem over the phone, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm kind of like that too, where I can tell them what to look for, but then I'm like, oh, I need to see it. Like I need to be there, right?
Hmm.
Whereas like tech support, that's what they do all day,
Yep. Yep.
and they have the manual or the breakdown right in front of them.
Hmm.
Because I've called them before just to ask them like, I can't get to this side, but can you tell me what's in the unit? Like I'll ask them like, how many valves does it have, or how many this or that, and they can tell me that,
Hmm.
and then I have a better idea like when I go to or when I need to disassemble it because some of these are extremely hard to get to, being in the kitchens and stuff. And I'm like, okay, now I know what to look for or this and that. So it definitely helps.
Yeah, yeah. Those are the keys to be a better tech. Like if you don't do those, your life is gonna be miserable in this field.
Yeah, man, because this field, you get frustrated. Sometimes you don't feel like you want to do this.
Hmm.
There's rough days, but
Oh
like at the end of the day, like it's a very rewarding
yeah. Hmm.
trade. It's a very good
Hmm.
one for your future, your you know the pay is great, if you work your way up.
Hmm.
So you just got to deal with those bad times, and
Hmm.
how you deal with those and how you get better is what'll determine how far you get.
Yep, that's it. That's it. Yeah,
All
man.
right. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you being on the show.
Hmm.
Everybody that is listening and watching, I will have his information in the description. You're on Instagram. I don't know if you're on any other platform, but I'll leave that in
Mhm.
in the description where they can find you. And thanks for coming on.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you, Adrian.
All right, man. All right, guys. Everybody watching, listening. See you guys.